be able to pull this off, especially after one of the rescuers, a former Navy SEAL, lost his life. I mean, just how extraordinary is this accomplishment up till this point?
This is a daunting task. There's no other way to sum it up. I mean, the logistics just to get into the cave to support the soccer team and what's required to exit the cave. Everything is about exiting the cave. So it is a huge undertaking.
I mean, I wonder your perspective on the strategy that they're using to fit these boys. Some of them don't know how to swim, so they're fitting them with full face masks and then having the divers tow them using a rope. It obviously has been successful up until this point. Do you think that this was the best way to get around a very difficult situation?
Well, I'm not on the ground, so it is hard to make any sort of mission estimate onto that. Given the time frame, what we have here is we have man's technology versus nature. And right now, nature is driving the show a little bit, so man has to step up. And I think that what they've done, the face mask allows the boys to have at least an enclosed airspace. They have to get used to that. Prepping them in their chamber was smart, getting them used to breathing on that, building up a rapport with the boys. That trust cannot be overstated. You're going to take an individual who's never been in the water, doing something that is not instinctual, that is breathing, and essentially you would be moving them along a line. That line is critical. That is their lifeline to the exit, that rope that they're pulling on. So position of the boys, keeping contact, keeping them calm, providing as much communication, which is a huge challenge once you're underwater, especially when you cannot see. I mean, put your hand over your eyes. That is the visibility you're going to get in this condition. So it is most certainly a daunting task.
And talk to me a little bit, you mentioned the rope, which is an important part of this process, but what about these rescue or stage tanks that they have placed along the route as the divers make their way back and forth? How important is it to have those tanks in place?
Well, unfortunately, we already lost the one Navy diver, and our prayers go to his family, as it should to all the rescuers and the soccer team. The distance that they have to penetrate into this cave, I mean, we're, what, 3.2 kilometers, 1.5 miles. The scuba cylinder, based on the depth, the work rate of the diver, their breathing rate that's natural, I mean, an 80 cubic foot cylinder is not going to last over that distance. So the work that they've taken to pre-stage all these cylinders in place for the rescue divers, for the soccer team members, that is a critical element of the success or failure of this operation.
Wow. You are a cave diver yourself, obviously. From your perspective, what do you think the biggest challenge is going to be for these rescue divers going forward? Is it the fact that a new round of monsoons could roll through, or is it the low levels of oxygen in the cave, or is it the disposition of the boys? What do you think is the biggest challenge?
It's all that. I mean, the boys appear to be in pretty good physical condition, being soccer players and that. You have Mother Nature with the monsoons coming in. You have the depletion of the oxygen. Once the oxygen levels start to drop less than 16% in contact, those boys are going to start to get hypoxic. They're going to start to pass out. If they go to sleep, it's game over. I can't sum it up any more than that. So the timing is getting to be real critical, which is why they move forward with the mission of extracting these boys using scuba. So the divers have to get in. The problem is now you've wasted, no, you didn't waste. You actually expended a lot of the resources in extracting these 4 boys. Now at the time frame, the divers have to rest. They have to get everything back in place for the next phase. We're saying 2 or 3 days. Okay, if another 4 boys come out, great. It proves that it has worked. I mean, it's a task that most certainly had to be planned out well, but there's an element of, you know, nature has its call, and the boys are very key to this. That rapport that the divers build up with them, keeping them calm, keep them in confident, positive reinforcement that they're going to get out of it. That's key. Keeping touch contact with these boys, reassuring. I'm not going to worry if they silt out. There's nothing to silt out. They can't see anyway.
Yeah.
Get on that line, get those boys moving, work them through the restrictions, be patient. When they get breaks because they come up to sumps that are air-filled pockets, whatever, give them the break and move them again. The sooner you get them out, the better.
Okay, good.
I can add point,
wait, okay, quickly, make your point quick.
Okay. I was going to say that even though the boys getting out to the exit, when they see the light, That is also a critical phase because, their eyes have adjusted to darkness. They'll want to get out of that cave, and that's when the divers are really going to have to do the final control on the buoys to ensure they ascend safely to the surface. Then the medical teams kick in.
All right, Rick Murcar, thank you so much for your expertise on this. Obviously, a long way to go in this rescue. We appreciate you being on. And we have breaking news into CNN. A British woman exposed to the deadly Soviet-era nerve agent Novichok has died. We're going to have details on that when we come back. Just into CNN, a British woman exposed to Novichok, a deadly chemical nerve agent tied to Russia. That person has died. Officials say Dawn Sturgis was poisoned along with her partner after handling a contaminated object. Now, her partner is still in critical condition. Now, you'll recall that Novichok is a group of chemical agents that were used earlier this year to poison an ex-Russian spy and his daughter who were living in the United Kingdom. Now, the British government has blamed Russia for that attack. In fact, British Prime Minister Theresa May, speaking out just moments ago, she says in a statement, quote, "I am appalled and shocked by the death of Dawn Sturgis, and my thoughts and condolences go to her family and loved ones. Police and security officials are working urgently to establish the facts of this incident, which is now being investigated as a murder." I want to bring in CNN national security analyst Samantha Vinograd. Sam, our correspondent Phil Black, who's there, he's been covering the story for quite some time. He says that officials there do believe that this is connected to the previous chemical attack, which targeted two Russian spies, well, a Russian spy and his daughter. The difference in this case, though, is that these folks have no connection to Russia in any way, shape, or form, and they're British citizens. Does this raise this issue to a new level in terms of the international community? And how forceful now will Theresa May have to be with Vladimir Putin?
Well, this certainly ups the ante in several ways. First off, this shows that British authorities did not identify all of the Novichok that was in the United Kingdom. So from an immediate standpoint, authorities are probably desperately trying to figure out whether there is any more of the substance. It can be in a liquid form, gel form, or powder form that is within the UK and that could contaminate other people. Theresa May came under a lot of criticism for her response to the Skripal poisoning a few weeks ago. The UK expelled several diplomats, about 23 of them, and there was pressure for her to do more. She did not suggest levying sanctions, for example, or any other kind of further response. And so this is a pretty morbid backdrop for the upcoming NATO summit later this week, where allies will ostensibly discuss a response.
Yeah, and how does this not in some way, shape, or form involve President Trump? As you mentioned, he's going to the NATO summit. He also is going to meet with the Queen and with Theresa May, and then going to meet one-on-one with Vladimir Putin. In some way, shape, or form, President Trump's going to have to get involved in this, isn't he?
One would think, but in his last call with President Trump, or I should say the call where he congratulated Vladimir Putin on his election victory, he did not raise this poisoning and came under intense criticism for it. It was very shortly after the poisoning and after the United States kicked out Russian diplomats. So the question really is, what will NATO allies decide to do when they're together in Brussels in terms of a coordinated response? And if Donald Trump sees Vladimir Putin, will he actually raise this issue and say, this is what we're prepared to do unless you stop?
Another complicating factor to what is already a series of very important meetings for President Trump. Sam Vinograd, thank you.
Thanks.
Up next, the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, seems to reveal that President Trump did, in fact, ask then FBI Director James Comey to give Mike Flynn a break. So what about all those denials? We'll discuss this next.